Hello and welcome to Marketing Land Live. This is show number 15. Today is May 27th, a holiday weekend, the start of a holiday weekend here in the United States. My name is Matt McGee. I am the editor-in-chief of marketingland.com and searchengineland.com, and this is our weekly show every Friday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time, where we record live on Blab, the video channel. And we are talking about the week that was in online marketing with some of our Marketing Land crew and special guests. And we have our very first special guest today. Brad, you are sort of our guinea pig here. We have been talking for several weeks that we need to bring in outside guests and expert opinions. And you're the first one that we bring in. Brad, good morning. Good afternoon, I guess, where you are.
Yep.
How are you?
Good. It's fun to do this again with you guys. It's been a while. Like we were saying, it's been a while, Matt. And
I know
it's
been so long. We used to be these, local SEO guys, and now you're become like, the PPC guru and paid search and paid ads and paid media. And I'm now not doing local SEO anymore either. So now we just pass each other in hallways and say hi. But it's great to have you on the show. Thanks so much. In fact, we'll do introductions. We are expecting Ginny Marvin from Marketing Land to join us soon. She is having some technical issues that we hope to get ironed out here in the near future. And if not, we will soldier on as best we can without her. So let's do introductions. I already mentioned I'm Matt McGee. I am in Tri-Cities, Washington. Why don't we usually go in alphabetical order, but since Brad has never done this before, Greg, I'm going to have you go first. And so, Brad, I don't know if Ginny warned you, but I always give sort of like an icebreaker question too. So, Greg Sterling, Greg, who you are, where you are, your position, and what you do with Marketing Land, Search Engine Land. And then today's question, where is it? Today's question is, what did you want to do with your life when you were a kid?
Oh, my God.
What's the definition of kid?
Yeah.
It's up to you.
All right, so you see, you know who I am. I write for Search Engine Land, Marketing Land. I'm also with the local search association, still in the local space. Google is finally coming around to recognizing the importance of that, like 15 years later. I cover mobile and local and a lot of policy stuff. And I'm seated in an upright position. That's my position. I'm in Oakland, California, home of the Golden State Warriors, who hopefully won't be eliminated this weekend from the NBA Finals or playoffs, rather. And what did I want to do as a kid when I was a kid? I think I wanted to be a rock and roll drummer was my ambition.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome.
One of many ambitions. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All
right. Brad, you're up. Go ahead.
Sure. So, go.
No. Just Monica's asking me to let Ginny in, but I'm not sure I know how to do that. Sorry, Brad.
Oh, no worries. So I'm Brad Geddes. I am the founder of Certified Knowledge, a training company. I am a co-founder of AdAlysis, an ad testing company. I have done workshops with SMX and the individual sessions for 3-4 years. I'm not even sure we are. I've written columns for Search Engine Land, so I may be a guest, but I'm a very at home guest.
Part of our extended family for sure.
Yes, and I'll be doing moderating at pretty much all the upcoming SMXs except advanced, but I'll be speaking and doing workshop there. As a kid, so I'll use something a little bit later than and not go the rock and roll way. So I wanted to redesign and redo all the psychological testing because I don't believe IQ tests and personality tests are done correctly. And so I actually went to school initially to look at how we could redo all of those testing because people are sometimes classified in interesting ways.
That is fascinating. Oh my gosh, we've never had this conversation. We have to. Oh. My gosh, now we have even more stuff to chat about. That's awesome.
Brad, were you traumatized as a child by some IQ test?
No, I was not. I looked at how they were done. I've always been fascinated by why people do things and decisions and so forth, right? Which is why I went to school and it's personality theory psychology. But I just thought that there was a lot of hidden potential in you and people that was not used correctly due to the way that they were either classified on standardized tests or, they were put in this kind of track. And there's a big difference in spatial awareness versus memory recall, blah, 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 right? All that fun stuff.
You and I should have a whole conversation about that because I share some of those feelings. I hate standardized tests and, all of that. I have a lot of opinions about the educational system. So
yes, and I have a 7-year-old who takes her first standardized test, I think next week or the week after, right? And you look at, sometimes I look at the homework and I'm like, I don't believe the right answer, right? Like, I mean, she's in first grade, and sometimes I'm like, okay, so 10 plus 2, if you're doing it one way, is 10. And I'm like, no, the answer is 12, right? I mean,
I know.
I don't,
Yes.
I,
Oh
I
my
don't
gosh,
get this.
we could totally do an entire show on this. Oh,
and
I
we
have an
are.
18-year-old and a 14-year-old, and it drives me crazy the way they do things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm in Washington, D.C. area. So,
okay.
Opposite side of the country from Greg, pretty much.
That's right. All right. So, and that's awesome. So we got a lot to talk about there. So I guess I didn't answer the question. I'm in Tri-Cities, Washington. I think I said that already. I'm up in the upper left corner. And when I was a kid, I wanted to be Jacques Cousteau because I used to watch that show on TV. I don't remember what it was called, but I know that they were underwater with the fish and the what? Yeah. Oh, look, is that Jenny coming in?
It's somebody. The undersea world. There she is. Yay! The undersea world.
Yay!
Do not ever get blocked. Do not ever get blocked. Oh my God, it's very serious. And then it wouldn't let me re-sign in with a new user, so I have to go incognito. Anyway, hi.
Welcome.
Thanks.
We're just wrapping up introductions, and it's perfect timing because we all three have gone. So why don't you do introduction? You know how it works. Did you hear what the question was today?
No, I couldn't hear anything. If you're blocked, you are out. You are black screened. You can't hear anything. There's nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very serious.
Wow. Did we do that to you?
Yes.
I hope not.
Yeah, on
okay,
the side, I saw Marketing Land blocked Ginny Marvin. I was like, what? And then I couldn't contact anyone.
Whoops. Yeah. Didn't we tell Ginny what was going on about that there? Yeah. Not the way you want to know that this is happening, I guess.
Right.
Okay, so you know how it works. Who you are, where you are, what you do, and what did you want to be when you were a kid?
Okay.
What did you when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Okay. Name is Ginny Marvin. I live in Portland, Maine. I cover paid search and ads for Marketing Land and Search Engine Land. And I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Hey, is that what Jacques Cousteau was?
Yes, on the Calypso, right?
Ginny,
yes.
You and I have some. That's exactly what I said. I wanted to be Jacques Cousteau.
Excellent. Yes. Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Oh man, I love that show. That was fantastic. I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna swim around with the whales and the dolphins and everything my whole life.
Well, then I realized I actually don't like diving or scuba or even snorkeling. It's terrifying. So I would never be in the water. I would be the person on the boat telling you to dive in. And then I could do the research that you collected for me. We'd be a team.
There you go. So you just own the boat and run things, and I'll be the one because I love to snorkel. When we go to Hawaii or whatever, I could spend all day snorkeling.
I know that shark is right behind me.
You guys are going.
No, I don't know. I don't have anything booked, but when we go to Hawaii, which we've done a few times.
You and Ginny.
So.
Yes, we'll do that.
Not, we haven't. No, I've never had the pleasure of traveling with coworkers, which I think would be fun. Although, you guys might disagree.
All right, we should get it.
In Hawaii.
Right. Do we have a show to do, or what? Are we just going to shoot the breeze about?
Brad's like, what?
People that are tuning in for the first. Yeah, Brad's like, what on earth have I agreed to? All right, so we are actually here to talk about marketing, even though There's other things going on in the world. So why don't we so for those that are first-time viewers or listeners, this is a weekly show. We're here every Friday, 12 noon Eastern time on the blabmarketingland channel. We usually run for 30 to 60 minutes, depending upon how busy the week was news-wise. And just a couple quick disclaimers. The opinions are our own, not necessarily representative of the entire Marketing Land Search Engine Land staffs. And if you agree or like what we're saying, you can click the little hands there on Blab to give us props. We love getting props, but it is not a scoreboard. There is no prize for the winner at the end.
And if you disagree, that's just tough, right? There's no negative props, right?
That's right. There's no negatives here. It's all
It
positives.
absolutely is a scoreboard, and I want to win.
Well, Brad is 10 ahead of us, so
Oh my gosh.
Brad, you're going to get really excited about the prize you get at the end, which is the prize you got at the beginning of the show, which is 0. All right, let's get started. So this week, one of the reasons we have Brad on, not only because we like him and he's a good guy, is because he is very well versed in the paid search space, paid media space. And this was a big week for news related to Google and AdWords. Ginny and Greg, you were both at, it's called what, the Google Performance Summit, I believe. Yep. And literally we have this, for those that are tuning in, I put together this sort of rundown of the show, the topics we're going to cover. I have no idea how on earth to cover and organize everything that came out of this Google Performance Summit this week. There's AdWords news, there's Maps news, there's AdSense and display news, right? I mean, there's everything. Ginny, do you want to go first, or whoever? What was the biggest probably news of everything Google announced? What kind of stood out as maybe the biggest item of all?
Well, I would say the thing that would probably make people universally happy is the breakup in bidding, so that we can bid by all devices or each device. And we can, so basically what happened with this announcement is, as Danny Sullivan likes to say, enhanced campaigns have become dehanced. Yes. So tablets and desktop are now divorced. They do not need to be tied together anymore. And you can have base bids that are tied to mobile for the first time too. So it got a little bit awkward, not only the tablet desktop unification, but for a lot of advertisers, it's starting to get really awkward to have your base bids tied to desktop when mobile traffic has been, and performance to a lot of extent has been ascending so rapidly. So I think that probably from a, as it will affect all advertisers, I think that was probably the biggest news. I don't know. What do you think, Brad?
So I'm going to disagree just because, I don't know, it's Friday afternoon and this is like my last thing and I'm taking a weekend. So the reason why that is the most important is because users don't have to do something. If they do nothing, their bid still exists. It does not put a burden of change. So it's the most positive news for savvy advertisers. But in many ways, the biggest news is the expanded text ads, because Google will retire the current ad format this year, and it puts the burden then of shift and of work to actually do on advertisers. So from a feature standpoint, I agree with you. From a burden standpoint, it's the text ads.
Okay, so let me ask you a question as the worst kind of AdWords advertiser of all, and that's me. My wife's a real estate agent, and literally I have a set it and forget it account in AdWords, which I know is not how you do it, but it's how I do it. Yep. So she bids on Kennewick real estate and Tri-Cities real estate and homes for sale and all this sort. So we've got thousands of keywords, I guess, and she spends $300-$400 a month or whatever. Anyway, so we've got all these ads written. So I am going to have to, at some point this year, go in and what's going to happen? Like, if I don't make any changes, do my ads stop showing?
This is my supposition, right? So this is pure guesswork. There's too many people like you for Google to just turn this off, right? You think of our reseller markets, there's no way some of these resellers managing 20, 30, 40,000 accounts are going to do this. So my guess, and this is just a guess, is that Google's going to say, you got your headline, you have a new headline. Your D1 becomes your new headline 2. Your D2 becomes your headline. So you don't have to do something, but your ads will suck. They will be worse than they are now in the new world. And so anyone who cares is going to have to go do stuff, but there's no way Google can just say, we're turning it off. That's like a SaaS program saying, if you haven't logged in for a year, we're going to stop billing you. Every SaaS program lives that way, right? It's not going to happen.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. You're totally right, Brad. I mean, Google has a massive reseller network, many of whom are, the bulk of whom perhaps are small businesses that are the ultimate advertisers being managed by these third parties, traditional media companies, and that's going to be a huge thing. I'm sure they're probably not even. I mean, I'm sure Google's done a bunch of internal communication with them, but many of these people aren't even aware of this. I think.
No. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if. I mean, I agree. They can't just turn your ads off. That makes no sense for anyone. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they just do more with dynamic for people like Matt and the resellers, where the ads whatever it is for that D2 or something, that there's more dynamic, whether it's extensions or snippets or whatever it is that fills in those gaps in the short term anyway, I would think, because they want good click-through rates. I mean, Google wants good click-through rates, so it's in their best interest to make all those reseller ads and Matt's wife's ads as good as possible.
Which is why they've got automated, site links and things that, help spice those up for those people not doing certain things.
Right. So I just wonder if there's going to be more coming down the pike before this big switch to.
So when does it kick in? I forget what
no official date, right? Sometimes the rumors are by July everyone should have access. By August you should be thinking about changes, and by September is a sort of sunset of the old stuff. But those are
but that's what they're going to do. They're giving some runway for people, and they're going to do a bunch of messaging and. But
for now, though, I mean, when it came out, I mean, they're telling people now who are paying attention and watching that to start building your ads now.
And so I have this thought. I don't know if it's right or wrong, that since we now have modifiers for all devices, and the vast majority of companies don't use mobile preferred, that we're going to also see the sunset of mobile preferred advertising, which, if that's true, Google should tell people now, because to think about your ads, right, and think about them in device types and then have someone say, oh, no, that setting's gone, is just a lot of wasted brain power in the middle there. So I hope I hope they announce it soon, or they announce it's not going to go away, right? Just something, because that's too much work to not have in sort of limbo land. Yeah,
that's a good point. I was surprised that there wasn't any announcement about mobile preferred, one way or the other at this event.
I agree. I was surprised, so we'll see.
So on the enhanced text ads, are the ads themselves going to be larger now?
Yeah, it's
like are we pushing things further down the page?
So 2 30-character headlines, an 80-character description line, and then essentially a little weird display URL. You got your URL and then 2 15-character folder sets that Google will play with for you. But so ads are going from, what is that?
25, 30. So from 25 and 70. 25 and 70 to
95
to 60 and 80, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So up to 100. So it'll be a tweet. It'll be 140 characters.
So the justification, as I understood it, for this expanded character count and so on is that they want people on mobile devices to know more about the advertiser before they click, right? I mean, it's about, at least in theory, about improving the mobile ad experience.
That's the story.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the mobile click through. I mean, I'm not buying the the argument that users don't know enough about the advertisers at this point on mobile, and that we need all those extra characters to really tell the story.
So what's the real reason then?
It's real estate and click-through rates, I think. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Brad?
So, I mean, I could take multiple approach in this, right? I could attack it, I could defend it, whatever. Because from an attack standpoint, right, it's like, all right, Google gets more money now, right? And internally, though, they don't actually think that way a lot of times. They really do think what's best for users. But from a branding perception, it has been so difficult for brand companies to coordinate messages with things like TV ads because of extended headlines. It ended with a period or it didn't, right? So there was these convoluted rules, which are now gone, which is a good thing. And it allows a little more freedom on the creative side. And Google wants TV money. We're still seeing a shift, right, of TV and offline media. So it allows for also a better experience from the advertisers who have brand departments who say no to a lot of things, to use a better creative freedom. So I could go either way, arguing or not arguing about this feature, actually.
Yeah, well, and I don't actually necessarily, I'm not saying that Google's, I mean, I think with the increased click-through rates, I mean, that's what they tout, right? I mean, whatever it is. Yeah. Yes, but I'm not saying that that's bad for users or advertisers. It's just
it's bad for SEOs.
Yeah, it is. All of this stuff is pretty much. I'm not sure anything has been announced that's been good for SEOs for years. I don't.
Oh, there's more stuff in the Search Console now.
Yes, that's true. That's yeah.
Carrot. They're just holding tiny little carrots out in front of the SEO crowd. We're going to connect your AdWords data to your analytics and put it in Search Console and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So, all right. So, I mean, advertisers must be very happy about this, right? You've got more.
Yes and no, right? Because it's a lot of people are like you are, right? They might be spending a lot per month, but they've got their ad set. They're doing some ad testing. It's no longer shiny and new. They're spending time over here, and now Google's saying, no, you got to come back over here and do all this work. So some are happy, some of course aren't.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, it's so you've had people in this framework of 25, 35, 35 testing ads for 15 years. And now it's a significant change as far as, legwork and testing and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah. And advertisers are worried. I mean, because we run an ad testing company, right? So right after this announcement, our email just blew up. I mean, just like, how is this going to happen? What do we do? What do we think about this? Right. And that's people are, they're concerned. They know they have to do something. They don't know what that is yet. And it's that ambiguity, which is a little bit difficult at times for people.
Yeah.
I mean, are the ads going to look like, are they going to, with all these extra characters and it's as long as a tweet, as you mentioned, like, are people actually going to get creative and do things with headlines and the description that maybe they haven't been able to do before? Or are we just going to continue to see more of the same, just a slightly expanded version?
I think you'll see a little of both, like you do now, right? You see some people who are very creative. You see some who are aligning ads to offline marketing. So that when you see a TV commercial, right, that your ads represent what's in the TV commercial by market or whatnot. Then you got those who are just making formulas and sticking a bunch of ads. So I think we'll continue to see a variety of all of them. Okay.
All right. So there's a bunch of other stuff from this week. There was some local ad angles to it. Greg, do you want to cover that sort of thing? There was promoted pins coming to Maps, as I understand. Yes.
Right. So Google's making sort of more branded experiences available to marketers on Maps with promoted pins, which is an unfortunate name given that Pinterest uses the same name. But Google is Google, and
it is what it is.
Yeah,
I'm just glad they didn't make up some ridiculous name like that often happens, and then we're all calling them promoted pins, but we're supposed to.
What would be that ridiculous name that you wouldn't have liked to?
I don't know. It's something that comes out of one of those team meetings where they spend 48 hours in a room trying to figure out a product name, and then we're stuck with a ridiculous name.
Because you've got the history knowledge in your head here of local. Isn't a lot of this like the local business ad pins from 2006 to 2008?
Yes. Except that these are focused on enterprises, but yes, yes, you're right. I mean, this is sort of everything old is new again in a certain way. What they're doing also with this is they have a new kind of enhanced business page, landing page, where you can put promotional stuff. So if you're a retailer and you're pumping your inventory into, local inventory ads, that can show up there on those pages, and offers or deals, or you can customize those pages in a whatever way is appropriate to your category and business. There's also this idea, the thing that's different, Brad, is that they're going to show these along the route, near me and along the route. Right. So you're driving from home to work or vice versa or whatever, and you're going to see some of these branded promoted pins along the way.
This is like map display network.
Yes, it's like
So if I'm just using my GPS, right? My phone is my GPS these days, right? I'm going to see promoted pins, which is essentially display because I'm not searching.
Yes and no. They will trigger with searches, but yes, that's right. There's a display, contextual display dimension. Go ahead, Ginny.
Oh no, I was just going to say, but I think they are planning to test the when you're nearby pins will appear, like what happens with Waze, which I thought was really interesting. When Sridhar Ramaswamy the day before had, I guess maybe it was Danny or you, Greg, I don't know who asked about the Waze and the Waze and AdWords and being two systems, and does he foresee them coming together? And he sort of left it open-ended, but said he could see the two coming together.
Yeah, that wasn't my question, but that's right. I think that question was raised. I mean, there are a lot of things about this that I think Google still has to work out. What the user experience is going to be like is because, are you going to have a map now cluttered with all kinds of branded pins everywhere? Which ones are going to be shown? Which ones are not going to be shown? What are the rules, in terms of distance? I should also mention that MapQuest has done a sort of a version of this for a long time, which is not particularly appealing to me. But I want to clear up a misconception about Waze. People think it's pronounced Waze. It's really pronounced Waze. Okay. So the other thing, moving on to a more serious topic, the other thing that Google did that's related to local is expanding. They're going to aggressively expand the store visits metrics. And Ginny, you also wrote about that, but they currently have about 1,000 businesses, mainly retailers, or they talked about Nissan UK, that are using this in 11 countries, I think was the number. And they really want to massively expand this. And they presented a lot of anecdotes at the Performance Summit about how when you factor in offline visits, and you get a much more robust ROI for mobile search advertising in particular. So, I thought that was interesting because, for the last 15 years, I've been saying that people are all focused on e-commerce because they can track it, but really what's going on is this sort of online to offline phenomenon. And so Google, among other companies, but Google around search is really pushing this sort of offline measurement.
Yeah.
The future is getting back to the Waze idea. We're all going to be, and these ads are going to be popping up on our Google Maps as we drive. Look, we're all going to be sitting in our Google self-driving cars. The car is going to be driving. We're going to be on our phones doing our searches, and then they're going to follow us. They're going to pop the ads up as we go to our route, and then they're going to track us.
Why doesn't it?
Then they're going to track us into the store.
Yeah. Right.
Like if my car's so smart, right? I should get in it, and it knows I want to go to Starbucks, and then I want to go here, right? If it's that smart, I shouldn't even have to search, right? It's the pre-search stuff, right?
But that I did think was actually interesting because that also came up as well. If I don't go to Starbucks, and somebody said if I don't ever go to Starbucks, am I going to see Starbucks pins? And they said no, that it will know what you like. So we'll see if that actually happens.
Yeah, that's gonna be a privacy dependent issue where some people it will not know that. Hence why Waze, or however you really want to say it today, exists outside of Maps, right? For privacy sharing, who opts into data versus not. So I have a hard problem believing that if you don't opt into location information, I think you'll still see Starbucks fans.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think, yes, I think there's going to be, and Greg, you mentioned, Sridhar was talking about this as far as the privacy concerns, but I do, yes, I think you're right. You're going to have to opt in or whatever, but.
Yeah, they're they talked about privacy quite a bit during that session, and I think that they're pretty sensitive to it. I mean, I think the user experience is really what we don't know what it's going to be, because I'm not going to want to see this map cluttered with brands that I don't care about.
But I tell you what, though, Google has usually erred on the usability side, not the advertiser side, as they expand revenue. So if anything, I think we'll still people going like, why can't I see my PIN?
Yeah, yes, I guarantee that will happen. Yeah. All right, so there's, I mean, again, we could probably talk for like 3 hours about this stuff.
Right.
Let me just go over some of the stats that came out this week. Related, well, there was, as you just mentioned, Greg, the store visit stuff. Google has measured more than 1 billion store visits from AdWords globally. Google now has, Danny Sullivan did a story on Search Engine Land. Google now handles at least 2 trillion searches per year. And then there was other announcements, too, about voice-activated data assistant in Google Analytics 360. There's the free version of Data Studio for your reporting. Anything else that you want to discuss real quick before we wrap this first topic up?
No, I would just point out that buried in the blog post, and it wasn't really touched on at the event, is, I guess it was in one sentence during the event, but that the retargeting on the GDN is actually going to open up to other exchanges. And so it's not just going to be limited within the Google ad network and AdX walls. It will open up. So sort of an interesting move on Google's part to open up inventory there.
Let me add one thing, and maybe Brad can illuminate this, because they didn't really talk about it at the event. I'm trying to follow up with Google about the similar audiences for search and demographics.
That's what I was going to say. Is the other big announcement.
So this is a huge deal, right?
Yes.
And they didn't say anything about it. They said, "Oh, we're going to have these similar audiences for search," and then they gave this AARP example about demographic targeting for search, and it was like, what is kapow? And then they didn't talk about it, and they didn't have anybody there to answer any questions. It was so bizarre. So, Brad, what
bizarre, because it's huge.
Yes,
and,
it is.
And no mention of it at the press briefing the day before.
Exactly.
A one-off, no follow-up with the product managers after.
Exactly. So, Brad, do you have any insight into what's going on with this?
I can make some very educated guesses. How's that? So the thing is,
we'll take it.
With Google's search information, right? It's always minimum 1,000 cookies. So your little business is gone, right? You got to be using analytics for a lot of this stuff. So Adobe, gone, right? So when you look at things like customer match and RLSAs, they're only used by usually performance advertisers, not by the little guys. So when you think of the global scheme of this is huge, but it is only really huge for your larger accounts. It means nothing to your reseller markets, whoever. But I think it's going to be great. Google has had such wonderful insights into user demographics and user interest that is not first party given. Right? This is where they are very good at saying, here's the sites you've been on, this is who you are. They've been great at it, and they've not used it for years and years and years. And it's always been kind of a holding them back. And so I think they're really switching to audience plus search is amazing. Facebook is only audience. We're only search. How do we be better and combine the two together?
Well, so Google had this post a while ago about how if you're just doing audience targeting, you're missing a lot of buyers, right? And they gave a bunch of examples. 30%. I'm just making this up. 30% of people who buy diapers are children. Some counterintuitive. They gave a bunch of counterintuitive examples, right? This is not what you would expect in terms of the buying behavior in the audience. And so they were touting the benefits of search as this sort of intent-driven medium versus audience targeting. But now they're sort of bringing audiences into it. So does this mean that, if I'm a Prius buyer profile person, they're going to show me an ad for cars or auto loans, but not somebody else?
No. So let's say you got a query, right? Like new cars. All right. Really general query. A lot of people don't want to buy this query, especially local dealerships, because it's just too general for what they do. But if I knew, hey, Jenny's been on the site before and looked at hybrid cars, okay, I would want to target her for any kind of like car search, and that's RLSA. But let's say Matt has been on some car buying forums for a while, right? And now he's been kind of just thinking about it, but he's a researcher. He wants to be very deliberate in thinking. He hasn't searched yet, right? So now when he does something like best car dealerships, maybe something we don't buy, I would want to actually buy that words, but only if I have that similar audience intent that Google knows about them. So that if you, Greg, have just never shown any interest at all and you just happen to type in new cars, I don't want to show you an ad. You don't really haven't shown me an indication that I want to pay $5 for your click. Jenny did through her previous visits and Matt did through his display network. And that's how we can now take these search intent terms and target users differently, different keywords, different ads based on direct information such as Jenny in this case, or indirect information such as Matt.
Well, it'd be interesting to see. I'm trying to follow up with Google about this and kind of unpack it a little bit from once we get some official information. How was that for a segue?
That is a great segue. But before we segue into the Facebook topic, Larry Sivitz just asked in the audience about would they use Gmail for this kind of profiling of audiences and that sort of thing?
I would guess they would, right? I'm going to guess they're going to take data from wherever they can get it, and if you're a signed-in user, if you have a Gmail account, they're going to assign you to
I would say the opposite actually, because Gmail data is scanned and held within its own thing for the ad serving of Gmail purposes, because they want to be it's your email. They want to be super sensitive to that, and they don't use that for display audience targeting, interest targeting at the moment.
Well, not like the content of your email. That's not what I was thinking. Maybe
okay.
Just your identity, right? I mean, sort of who you are when you're signed in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I don't believe they'll read the content to put you in audiences. People would drop Gmail like crazy.
It's noise. It's noise, though, right? Because you're going to get email and interact with people around all kinds of stuff, and not necessarily, indicate your buying intent in email. So,
yeah.
Okay, let's move on. That was great stuff covering Google Performance Summit. I want to have signs so people can know when we transition to topic. We're now going on to topic 2, dose. I will one of these days I will have signs or some sort of way to better indicate this. But it's more discussion about paid media and a couple news from Facebook this week. One of which I guess is not surprising, that FBX is going away. And then Greg Sterling, you just overnight published the story about the expansion of the audience network.
Right.
And I read that. I missed the story last night when it posted. I read it this morning, and my first thought was, is there anyone left that Facebook has not found a way to show ads to?
And the answer is no.
Okay, that's what I thought.
No, the announcement is pretty straightforward. It has two things, two elements. So the first element is that they're taking the audience network and they were only showing Facebook targeted ads to people who were actually Facebook users, registered Facebook users. Now they're expanding that to non-users. So anybody on the audience network will now be targeted using the Facebook targeting methodologies and parameters. They're inferring who those people are, the non-users, through different signals. And what they said to me yesterday was that advertisers would have total control. So you're not going to get a lot of garbage. They're only going to show ads when they have a high degree of confidence that the non-users that you're going to reach are within your targeting groups. So they're trying to build a lot of control there and use data to make sure that your ads reach the intended audiences. The second piece of it is they're going to extend more control to users about opting out or changing ad preferences. Now, so you can either opt out using the ad choices icon, behavioral targeting, standard thing, or if you're a Facebook user, you can go in and do ad preferences. I don't know how many people interact with ad preferences on Facebook. I would suspect it's a pretty low number. And the ad choices icon is a total failure in the market. So, no, I mean, people go, the IAB and others go out there and say, oh, self-regulation works. Ad choices is working. Survey after survey shows that consumers don't know what it is, don't understand it, don't interact with it.
And the fact that all these things are predicated on putting a cookie on your browser and not deleting your cookies. If you do, you delete the fact you don't want ads. That the technology itself is always going to lend itself to not working.
So anyway, but at least at a level of policy, Facebook is trying to give users more control, and they're sort of the big picture is we're going to bring higher quality ads to you, give you control, make sure these ads respect your user experience, and they talked about that quite a bit. The video ads don't have sound, etc. And most of these ads on the Audience Network are native now. I think it's 80%.
Yeah.
So they're trying, like Google, right? Facebook is very invested in trying to improve the ad experience so that you don't, do ad blocking, basically.
Yeah. I'm wondering on the advertiser end, is there going to be any way to see performance difference between audiences that are Facebook audiences and audiences that are not, and to bid or target those, whether it's bidding or whatever separately? Any controls there? Do you know?
I think that there will be some. I don't know in detail. I had a very short. I didn't get to ask all my questions because my time with them was very compressed. So I do think that there are controls. It's sort of analogous to the Google network, off network, on network, search versus display a little bit. There will be control, but I don't know exactly how granular and what the reporting will be right now. Others will know the answer to that.
Yeah, because that'll be interesting.
For sure.
See how that.
And the FBX news, not a surprise, right?
No.
Nope, not a surprise. Long time coming. But it is. I mean, it's kind of amazing. It was pretty revolutionary when it came out, and was to have a seat on that exchange was sort of high value. And I think when Gravity 4 bought Trigit, that was like the only asset it cared about, or that it said it cared about, basically, was Trigit's seat on that FBX exchange, which was a little weird because already at that point when they bought that, I think it was 2 years ago, sort of the writing was already on the wall. But yeah, it's been supplanted by custom audiences and dynamic ads, both of which are mobile and cross-device friendly. So.
All right, Greg, you need to leave us in about 3 minutes, don't you?
I do.
Okay, so I'm going to move things around in the rundown real quick. We're going to take topic 3 and we're going to move that down into the lightning round. We're going to take this item out of the lightning round real quick. You did your story, Greg, earlier this week. There's reports, I think it was The Information, that had the report that Apple is going to get into the home device. Obviously there's home devices already with your iPhone or whatever. Right. But I mean, an Amazon Echo, Google Home competitor, and Siri opening up to third-party apps. And comment on that. And can we assume that others will follow, like namely Microsoft with Cortana?
Yes. So I suspect we'll see a Cortana version of Echo coming out at some point. I have no basis for saying that other than its competition is doing the same thing, and it makes logical sense. So the Siri news, so The Information said, yes, there's going to be a Siri-based Amazon Echo competitor, although they pointed out that their sources indicated this was in the works a long, long time ago, before Echo showed up. Who knows what the truth is. But what's more significant, I think, is the SDK, right? Yes, the SDK. So what we're seeing happen, which is interesting, is the integration of all these. It's it's a new app store kind of environment where we're seeing the integration of all these third-party services, especially transactional services. And I think this is very interesting that you'll be able, with your voice through these devices, to reserve cars, to order food, to book reservations. I mean, that's coming very, very soon. It exists already. And all of these services now, what used to be sort of a search function, I want to make a room reservation in Sarasota, Florida on such and such a date, or a car or whatever, book an airline ticket. You're going to now be doing that through these voice interactions with these assistants. And I think that's really fascinating and has all kinds of SEO, SEM implications potentially.
Yeah. I wonder, do you think messaging, or essentially voice messaging, is going to come to these devices?
So
like I'll be able to message, like talk to you basically over Echo. And if that happens, are these going to be app-based or device-based, do you think? I mean, I'm just wondering, like, I could see that being a big differentiation between these.
So if I get, yes, so if Facebook Messenger is integrated or Skype is integrated, for example, why wouldn't I be able to do everything on those that I could do? Message Ginny Marvin, or call Ginny Marvin or whatever. Why wouldn't I be able to do those kinds of things?
And you can do that with. I mean, I use Siri for that all the time. If I'm driving and I need to send a text to my wife, I'll just talk to it and tell Siri what I want to text.
And any Apple device would probably be able to duplicate that function. So I mean, it's super interesting stuff, because I think it does represent a new, kind of. Whole new sort of avenue for search and discovery and other things.
And mic drop, you have to go.
I could stay on for one more minute. Is there one
more minute? Well, we're going to move into the lightning round, and so if you want to stick around for any,
real quickly.
Okay. Real quickly. All right. So lightning round. We were at the 45-minute mark of the show. Lightning round. Twitter expanding the space that you can put in tweets. Sort of not life-changing. It's something they should have done long time ago. Is it going to change or increase? Is it going to move the needle at all for users?
No.
I would say
really long character names will get more tweets.
My impulse is to say no, like Brad, but there are people that are saying, oh, this is going to allow for a lot more multimedia stuff, and that's going to be a expansion of people's engagement, that kind of thing.
I think it's probably not. It's not major, but it has implications that are will snowball. I think that, like Greg's saying, as far as media, as far as usability, as far as just being able to. From attracting new users, I think it could be, a tiny pebble in the sandcastle that needs to be built to be able to bring. That made no sense.
No, actually, it was quite a nice metaphor.
It did make sense.
I
understood.
Okay.
I understood.
Why do we need a sandcastle to bring in new users? I don't know. But anyway, it'll be attractive. No, I do think it's but like you said, Matt, it should have happened. It's all these little tiny steps that are just so frustrating that it takes them this long to make.
Yeah, I mean, we've known for years that they need to make it easier for new users to understand, and I mean, that's the thing. When I talk to people that are not Twitter, like the neighbors, they're all on Facebook, and that's one of the big things. Well, I can't say anything in 140 characters or whatever. So that's even if it's just 25 extra characters, who knows? If I don't think it's going to move the needle a ton, but I think it may help a bit. We'll see. All right, Greg, you are sticking with us. I admire this.
One more thing, and then I'm going.
All right. We're just going to have one more item on the lightning round, and it's also related to Twitter. There was the news earlier this week. It's not confirmed, not official yet, but reports are that the team behind the Twitter buy button is disappearing, has gone already, and that whole project of putting buy buttons on tweets is pretty much dead. And I think Martin Beck is still tuned in. I'm not sure, but he did a story a year and a half or so ago on Marketing Land about questioning whether or not anybody ever, there's Martin, whether or not anybody wants to use social for buying. And I think that the answer is no, and I think this is kind of evidence of that.
See, so I would say they didn't do it right? Deal with the NFL, the NBA, television shows where you can buy what X is watching because they want to be a media engagement tool, right? So if they ever would have said, hey, you're watching whatever show, this is the purse so-and-so has right now, right? And the person tweets it out like you have a lot of engagements, buy button fits that, right? I don't think they ever approached this in the correct context.
Agree.
That could be.
I agree. Sorry, and I don't know if Facebook's saying anything new with their latest iteration either. But none of them seem to be like, oh yeah, that's what I needed. That's the way to make this happen. Well, I did think it was interesting. Twitter said instead of the buy button, we moved that team over to dynamic ads.
Right.
So, I mean.
And there's also the buy buttons on Pinterest. We don't know how those are.
Those are apparently working.
Yeah. And Google brought up its purchases on Google again. So as if there's life in there.
I think I do have to go now, but there's but yet I can't quit you. So. The Google has this whole thing. I've been wanting to write this post for a long time. Google's talking about mobile moments. And I think there's a lot of truth to what they're saying, but I think there's a mobile moments myth, or the myth of moments or something. There's a context for buying, and there's different cycles and different levels of purchase consideration. And it really depends on the context. And, with Pinterest, you're in there, you're saving things, you're looking for a long time. There's a very long cycle and consideration process that goes on there. And when you are ready to buy, you've done a lot of work chiefly behind the scenes.
Well, Google would call that the where to buy, how to buy moment.
Yes, but it's not like everything is an impulse purchase, right? That's the assumption behind these buy buttons. It's like, oh, that looks cool. I'm going to buy it. Buy now. Right. Buy.
Well, and I think that's where I do think, again, where Google purchases on Google, whatever annoying name they gave it, does have that context because it's in a product ad. I mean, you're searching for products.
Okay. So speaking of buy, goodbye.
Bye.
Now you can quit us. Oh, that's awesome. Too funny.
I don't know, Brad. What do you think about? Not to switch away from Twitter because it's a little bit boring. The Twitter thing. I mean, it died. But what do you think about purchases on Google and its shelf life?
So my problem, it's not that I don't believe certain users would not use this feature. It's the fact that Google can't get payments correct. I mean, Google Wallet never worked outside the US and UK, so they limit this here. You don't understand if you click through, will you get a better price, right? So there's no comparison shopping, and no one truly believes the prices in any comparison shopping site to begin with, because you don't know about shipping and other stuff. And so the button itself, I don't think is a changer because it, again, misses certain buy signals that a user wants the site or wants some other addition. But Pinterest, I believe it can work for the reasons mentioned, right? Users been there searching. So I think it's all about the context. And a search says, show me who's relevant to this, right? Don't always show me the answer. And I know Google wants to move answers to search results, but I don't think they're going to move buy actions anytime soon.
Yeah.
You can call actions, tweet actions, but not buy actions.
But I think you also bring up a really good point is that the way that Google is implementing this, they are acting as the back end of the vendor, which is a really awkward position for Google. Not like, I mean, I think we can pretty much say it's not their strong suits, not where they have any depth of experience. I'm not sure they've hired the right team to fill in that lack of experience. Whereas Pinterest isn't trying to do that. I get, so I think that's where there's the buy on Google or purchases on Google call to action isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's then what happens is pretty funky.
And that's exactly it, right? Because as an advertiser, so with the local offers, right? So you guys remember the local offers that Google had?
Yeah.
So the problem was you do, as an advertiser, you never have direct contact with the end user. You don't get their email. You don't get to show them this. You don't get to upsell the user. So as an advertiser, a lot of times you don't want those, right? And that's where like Google forced people into the credit card offer thing. It's gone, right? Because no one ever really wanted it to succeed outside of Google. Because they wanted they wanted to own the customer relationship, right? It's who owns the customers. Have been a big thing for years. And advertisers, they'll give Google their money, but they don't want them to own their advertiser too, or own their client rather.
Right. Yep.
Okay. All right. So we'll wrap up the lightning round there, and it's we're coming up to the hour mark. So why don't we start closing things up? What's coming up? We have a couple conferences coming up. We have Social Pro happening in Seattle on June 20th and June 21st. First, by the way, the early bird registration for that expires tomorrow, May 28th. So if you're watching this live or watching this on replay later today, you still have time to get the discounts for Social Pro in Seattle, June 20th, 21st. Right after that is SMX Advanced, June 22 and 23. Brad, you are doing your advanced training workshop, right?
Yes, I'll be doing a workshop right between social and advanced, and then I'll be speaking at advanced as well.
Fantastic. I look forward to seeing you there. That'll be awesome. Ginny, you're going to be there, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so SMX Advanced is June 22 and 23 in Seattle. And we are also running, I believe, the URL. We're running the biggest search geek contest, which we have done at several of our shows in the past. And there is still time to enter if you think you are the biggest search geek. If you're watching this, there is a chance you are. And you can go to biggestsearchgeek.com for more information about that and how to enter. And there's just fantastic prizes and all that sort of stuff. So let's wrap it up. Brad, thank you so much for being here. I hope you will consider doing it again at some point.
Oh, yeah. I have the bandwidth evidently to stick around, right?
We promise not to block you.
That's right. Yeah. We'll do our best. I mean, we're not sure. We'll do our best, though. All right. So, Brad, tell people, for those that are tuning in and they want to connect with you somewhere online, where can they find you? Where's the best place to find you? Your Twitter handle, perhaps?
Twitter handle, BG Theory, or Adalisis, or Certified Knowledge. I'm pretty easy to find online if you search for me.
Okay. Brad Geddes, Geddes. Awesome. Yep. Jenny, where can people find you? You are not, it says, at Marketing Land right now.
Yeah. Though you can probably track me down through them. They'd really appreciate that. Ginny Marvin on Twitter.
Is
pretty
the best.
Easy.
All right. And I am at Matt McGee on Twitter. You can also find our websites and all our content that we publish on Twitter at Marketingland and at SEngineland. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/marketingland, facebook.com/searchengineland. And on Blab, follow us at blab.im/marketingland. Ginny, thank you as always. Brad, thank you as well. I hope we can do it again soon. And thank you for all the folks that watched live and everyone that is tuning in. We will be back, and we'll see you next Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Thanks for watching. See ya.